Hello, everyone. Welcome into the Shoujo-Verse. I'm your host today, Bees, and I'm here with Aza, Miso, and Nikki. Today, we are going to talk about the standards of beauty in shoujo. But before that, how's everyone doing today?
Well, I am kind of working on cosplay. Work on it for like an hour on the weekend, and then I'm like, oh, I suck. I can't do anything. Let me just go look at Reddit for another hour. So,
What's the cosplay?
it's Mayura from Miraculous Ladybug, and if we have any Miraculous Ladybug fans here, you'll see if you're into the season that's about to air that my character is now obsolete. Apparently, her Miraculous is now being used by Hawkmoth, and he's now both simultaneously Hawkmoth and using the Peacock Miraculous. So, I don't know if we'll ever even see my character again.
F.
Do they like pass on their powers or something?
Oh, they use like a little trinket, I guess, to take on the traits, I guess, of a certain animal, but like they also have a power. Like the Ladybug Miraculous is luck, because I guess there's kind of a superstition that ladybugs are lucky. The cat is like super agile.
Oh,
I was gonna ask, is that the show with the cat boy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Chat Noir.
I think I watched like a few episodes of it because I was like, "What is this?" And it was like on Netflix. I didn't know it was like there was like a big following for it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. The first season is not that good, but it gets a lot better with season 2, and then season 3 is great. And I'm fully aware that this is a children's show. This is like for 14-year-olds, but I don't know. What can I say? I'm still a fan.
that's fine. I mean, there's grown adults who enjoy My Little Pony.
Yeah,
and I think
exactly.
That's cool.
I mean, the character I'm cosplaying is an adult, at least. She's probably older than I am.
That's good.
What about you, Miso? Anything exciting going on?
Nothing. I have such a boring life. Nothing is going on again.
I've hardly seen you in
usual.
the chat. You must be really busy, though,
I
with
know,
work.
I've just been out. Yeah, my workout is kind of crap, and then I cut home. Everyone's asleep, and then I'm like, can't really talk to anyone.
Because you're on the late shift.
Yeah, I'm in the weird shift, but that's my life.
Will it get better soon?
I mean, I'm in this job until like end of August, and then go back to school. So there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay, 4 more months.
Wait, so
Well-
you're not in school right now?
No, I'm not in school. I'm on what you call like a co-op term over here, which is like where you just work full time.
Oh,
I've heard of that, yeah.
well, for me, I have not been productive lately when I really should be, and that's kind of the whole theme of my past week, to be honest. Past couple weeks, maybe.
I feel like this
I feel
isn't a
that.
how are you session. This is like a confession for all of us.
Real suffering.
I mean, I guess I've been doing okay since I've just I don't have too much to do. Like everything's just been pretty basic. I don't have much to look forward to, I guess, because I don't really have plans for things. Oh, I do. Oh, I am getting my hair dyed eventually soon.
What color did you
What
end up
color?
on?
Ooh.
So I still want to do the peekaboo. I mentioned this before, but I wanted to do like the peekaboo hair,
Mm-hmm.
where you just like dye underneath like the bottom part, and I kind of want to do it like highlights, and I think I'm gonna try to go for like some type of gray, but I'm a little worried because my hair is very, very dark and it doesn't take bleach well, and so anytime I want to do anything like ashy or gray or like anything besides like a orangey blondish type thing, it's like it's a little rough because my hair gets brassy. But yeah, but I don't have that planned until... Actually, I'll probably have it done by the time this episode comes out.
Ooh, we'll post a photo along with the episode.
Yeah, maybe.
Be the cover photo is Nikki's hair.
We'll see. But yeah, because I have it planned out for summer, because it's gonna be a hot girl summer.
Mm.
Ooh, hot girl summer, if we can go out.
if we can. But yeah, I also, because those things, they're expensive. So I just like, I don't want to do it now because I'm not going anywhere. Maybe by summer things will be like a little more open up. I'm just trying to get my money's worth.
Very true.
Yeah, don't do it just to sit at home and not have anyone see it. What's up with you, bees?
Well, at the time of recording, I'm so close to done with my classes.
Yay.
So close. I can taste it. Like, this is my last week of classes, and then we have 3 weeks of self-study and exams, and the final exam.
Yes.
And then I have to take my certification exam. And then I will be
there.
An actual adult for the rest of forever.
You're almost there.
I never took a certification. Does that mean I'm not an adult?
Welcome to the kids' table.
Yeah.
I never left the kids' table.
I'm sorry, Asa, but you're gonna have to leave now. This is for adults only.
Well, you're the only adult here.
Oh, sorry, guys. We'll catch you next time.
By the way, this is our announcement that this podcast will now be bees and only bees all the time, 24/7 bees.
You get a bee.
Making Shoujo-Verse
You
kids
get a bee.
table edition.
And you get a bee.
I'm looking forward to your solo episode.
Thank you.
Can you play like different characters? Can you be like BA and BB?
Just play your D&D
And
characters.
just talk to yourself.
Yeah, I've DM'd for D&D, so I can do that. Right, we're
Almost
not
forgot.
talking about our lives just for the whole time. We are talking about the standards of beauty in shoujo. And let's start with, what is exactly the standard of beauty in shoujo?
I mean, depending on the context of the actual manga, but I would say, like, there's always that big push for, like, that black hair. Standard, nice, straight black hair.
Oh, really?
I feel like that, right? Because then if you're blonde, and if it's one of those worlds where, like, people have normal colored hair, if you're blonde, you're seen as, like, the delinquent. Yeah, the delinquent.
Oh, yeah.
Or, like, anytime, what is it called? Takane no hana?
It's like the flower on the top of the mountain or something.
Yeah, that one. Anytime anyone gets referred to as, like, that flower that's, like, on a table or, like, top of the mountain, and then it's, like, it's always someone that has, like, nice black hair, or, like, seems very meek in a sense.
Well, it sounds like you're just describing like a traditional Japanese woman.
That's exactly what it's supposed to be. Like, like the kind of like traditional, elegant Japanese woman, and that's like that's the audience that it's appealing to. Japan.
Well, I wonder. See, I feel like sometimes there's characters that get made fun of for having like their traditional Japanese hair. Like in Kimi ni Todoke, Sawako has a traditional Japanese hairstyle. She doesn't style her hair. It's just kind of straight cut, and it's not like bleached or styled or anything. And I feel like in that manga, she's kind of ostracized for it because they say it makes her look like a ghost. But I see what you're saying in some mangas, like where you're seen as like, what's the word? Like flirtatious or like sleeping around or something just because you style your hair, because you bleach your hair.
Mm-hmm.
But then some like a lot of manga, the main character will have like brown hair. And it's not clear whether they've like lightened it or whether that's just the color palette of the manga.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of shoujo like girls have like pink hair too.
Yeah.
Like, in Takano Hana and Moikare, she has like bright pink hair, and I guess that's supposed to be like seen as normal in that world, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's supposed to evoke like innocence and cuteness.
Which kind of brings into like another beauty standard where it's like the girl has to be like innocent, cute, and pure. And like if she dresses like too revealing, it's like, oh my gosh, she's a slut. She's a slut. I don't want to use that word.
Just say it, Miso. Slut.
Yeah. They're like, oh, you like slut shame her? Like all the time.
Yeah.
So it seems to me like the standard is to be that flower on the high peak. I guess it would depend on the exact series, but if we take like the most generic shoujo you can think of, the standard is probably a girl who's not too outgoing, with black or brown or some sort of dark colored hair, probably big eyes.
Yeah.
It's shoujo.
So on the big eyes, like a true weeb, when I was in high school, I did a report on the history of anime, and I forgot what book I was reading, but I think we all know that anime was kind of inspired by Disney way back in the 30s, when Japan first started like animating and stuff. I mean, they were animating before the 30s, but that style kind of like seeped into Japan from Disney, and that's really where the big eyes come from. But that's just like stayed this whole time, and I think that the big eyes really is part of the beauty standard, which is where you now get these trends, makeup trends, like with the contacts that make your eyes look bigger, or like drawing your underlash line like much lower than it actually is, and then like whiting out your actual underlash line so it looks like your eyes a lot bigger, and then like the false lashes that really large in the eyes and stuff. So that is definitely a big part of the beauty standard.
Yeah, because like large eyes make you look more innocent and like
exactly
cute.
Yeah,
Sometimes, not all the time, but in a lot of cases.
I think that's just what the standards are trying to emphasize, is the beauty standards are that because the ideal girl or woman is someone innocent and
a virgin.
Yes.
Yes.
You guys might remember in episode 1 where we talked about exactly how to spell shoujo, and there's like shoujo, which is young girl, and then shoujo, which is like virgin or something. I don't know. I'm just looking at the closeness in those two words.
Ooh, that's us.
That is a little.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of like shoujo girls tend to be virgins and like wholesome, pure, and then the guy tends to be like player and like dated a lot of women.
Yeah, and I think there's two sides to that. Is one side is like the reader is supposed to relate to the female lead, who's obviously like usually not very popular with boys so far. Like a lot of the times has never had a boyfriend, or even has never even fallen in love before. And I think that's one aspect, is the reader's supposed to relate to that and feel like, oh, this character's just like me, because obviously I'm a nerd and I keep to myself and I don't talk to boys. But then the other side is kind of like what Japanese society expects of women. Is like, boys will be boys, meaning they can do what they want, but girls have this higher standard they have to adhere to.
Yeah, I think it's mostly the second kind of interpretation that you mentioned too was definitely prevalent even in like shonens too, because then even then when like their audience isn't girls to relate to, the girls there in those shonen also don't have experience most of the time.
Yeah, it's like all that they exist for is to like cheer on the male lead.
Have you seen those? There's like those compilations where it's like the girl, like the female lead or whatever in shonens, they have a thing for the male lead, but they have to wait for like his character development or something before anything can happen.
Yes. Yeah, like they don't get their own arc at all.
They don't.
They're just always like a support character.
They're there just to build the guy up.
Yeah,
basically.
they just like secretly love him.
Kind of like decoration. Yeah, a little decoration.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying, but like they're like kind of there, secretly love them and like wait on them forever for them to like do whatever how many years of freaking character development they need.
Yeah, scream out his name at a clutch moment.
They're there for decoration and as an asset
for fan service. Yes, they're assets.
they're assets.
For fan service.
You know? Yes. They're assets.
But that's shonen.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah, but I feel like it's okay. I feel like it definitely has changed a bit, even in shonen, like especially with like things like Jujutsu Kaisen.
Oh my god, I was about to mention that one. I feel like I'm so proud of that manga for like not having fan service.
There's no fan service.
No.
And female, they do have an arc. They do have like a story behind them. They're not there just to support the main cast.
Yeah, they matter as much as the male characters. And I feel like...
Who would have guessed?
Right?
Damn, females being important? What is this?
Yeah, and they're not even like scantily clad. Like, they're just wearing normal clothes.
I really appreciate, though, like, the platonic relationships. I think I'm starting to realize that a little more, where, like, platonic relationships between guys and girls, like, there's not a lot of romance going on in Jujutsu Kaisen between the characters, and I, like, really appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's definitely, like, friendship-oriented and, like, in a good way, not like a fairy tale. Oh, I'm gonna get roasted. A fairy tale friendship, you know? Like, in a good way. A good platonic way.
It's very, like, nakama, you know?
Yeah.
It's very Naruto.
Mm-hmm.
But even in, like, Naruto, there's, you know, romantic undertones.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously there are romances, as
Yeah.
you see with Boruto, that some people do get together.
Yeah. But I just like how they're friends, you know? Like, there's no love triangle going on in Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yes.
Yeah, they're all homies.
They're all homies.
So, do we all agree to sign the petition to turn Jujutsu Kaisen into a shoujo? Can we assign that genre to?
I mean, if Attack on
Jujutsu
Titan
Kaisen.
can get it.
Did you need to publish a spin-off in something? in a Shoujo magazine.
It doesn't even need romance. I just have the same story, but publish it in a shoujo magazine. So we could claim it.
You just need to make their eyes a little more sparkly, and then it will count.
I don't know, man. Yuji's eyes and like Gojo's eyes pretty sparkly.
The anime really plays that up from the manga.
Yeah, he has pretty sparkly eyes. He already counts. Anyways, back to shoujo.
Back to shoujo. This is not the Jujutsu Kaisen podcast.
If we could jump back to what is the beauty standard, because I feel like there was more to say on that. I think pale skin is a standard, possibly because traditionally, you know, like geisha would paint their skin white, but it's like to a very offensive degree. Like, I think several of us were reading that one manga. What was it called? Oh, shoot, I can't remember what it's called. The one where the girl is like born with darkness powers and she's darker skin.
Oh,
and
it's that isekai one, right?
Mhm. What is it called?
She's like a shadow. I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah. Like, because the previous person who had her powers wound up like going crazy and destroying everything, they start to ostracize her and assume that she would do the same thing. But then she like winds up saving the country with her powers. And then, as a reward, the spirit of light whitens her skin. And like, I was like, okay, I'm not reading this manga anymore. What the hell is this? This is disgusting. I was like, really? Are you kidding?
It was such an odd like thing to do. Like, it had so much going for it. And
I
then
know.
It just went, like,
I was hoping that they would offer to like lighten her skin and she would reject it. Like, I was like, that would be a great statement, but no.
I was hoping they just wouldn't have made that offer. Like, your skin tone has nothing to do with like you being evil or good. And I think it's just
right.
It's just bad message in general.
Horrible.
I feel like a lot of Asian countries are very unapologetic about that, which is actually kind of crazy. Like, not only do they enforce like the, you know, pale skin standard of beauty, but they like don't care that it could be offensive, or like they're just really unapologetic. Like, they don't see an issue with that.
Yeah, I mean, in India, I know that they have skin lightening creams and stuff. Like, it's a huge industry, and like famous actresses are always advertising for those creams and stuff. And like, it's just horrible that is such a big industry and that people want that.
I mean, doesn't necessarily make that much sense either, but there's a lot of whitewashing that happens a lot too, like especially in Korea and like in K-pop too. A lot of the times,
Yeah.
their pictures get whitened,
Mm-hmm.
and so like there's plenty of times where people are like, "Oh, I saw them in person," and they're like not that pale, like they're pretty dark.
Yeah, beauty
There was-
filters do that too. Beauty filters will lighten your skin like automatically.
Yeah, it was a huge Twitter like fight thing about like what are they called? The fan sites? I think that's what they're called for K-pop, and like how they whiten skins, and everyone was super mad.
Mm-hmm.
But like similarly, people were also like darkening like the pictures a lot more than like what was like natural for a Korean person, and same argument where it's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah, in like Korean webtoons and stuff I've read, when somebody is describing or like thinking about how beautiful another person is, they'll be like, "Oh, they're so pale," and like, okay, like that's a factor.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm pretty fair skinned myself, and the amount of like old Asian ladies that are just like, your skin is so nice, or it's like so pale, like it's so white or something like that, and they'll always say that, and it's always from like these like old Asian ladies that kind of like push that stereotype too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I have like fairly light skin, but also not like kind of tanned. And every summer, my mom's like, "Yo, why are you so dark?"
Yeah.
I get roasted every summer about it. But I don't go out in the summer now because COVID.
I wouldn't say that the root of that is like a very global thing. That if you are pale, it means you didn't have to work like out in the fields and stuff. If you're pale, you just spend your time in luxury indoors. Which is,
I feel like that is.
I think
where
that's
it comes
the
from.
ancient like historical root. But times have changed, man. We need to
Mm-hmm.
get out of the past.
It's kind of wacky that like mindset still exists nowadays, even though like not that like most of us don't work in farms.
Right?
Yeah.
Like hundreds of years have passed.
Kind of going along with like skin, like just kind of like blemish free skin is also kind of like a thing. Like people like hate freckles, or like in mangas, I feel like there's a lot of hate towards like freckles, you know? Like they'll be like, "Oh, this person is like," especially in like I feel like I've noticed in like the, you know, the Korean manhwas and the isekais, you know? They're like, "Oh, this person's really plain," or to like signify that they're ugly or like not good looking or not beautiful, they'll just like slap on freckles.
Oh, that was like in the True Beauty K-drama, if anyone's watching. Her quote unquote ugly face is like not even that bad. She just has like a few like red marks.
She has like some
that are easily,
acne,
like,
and that's it.
fixable. And then it's like, oh my gosh, she's so ugly. And I'm like, dude, she's still pretty, even with the acne. What is this?
Yeah, and yeah, so I feel like that's also kind of like a big thing too.
Yeah. Maybe to wrap up the like what is the beauty standard? The physique, like the silhouette of a woman, I think is expected to be incredibly thin. Like really, really thin.
You have to be thin and like hourglass, essentially.
Well, I think hourglass is a standard that we see in shonen, but I think in shoujo, because of that like pure and innocent standard that they have, they're actually usually more, not that they're not curvy, but that they're kind of like straight and don't really have that large of boobs.
I just thought of something. You can tell if you're reading shonen, or like if it's for a male audience or female audience, based on the female's like boob size.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It's true.
So I forget, there was this project, a global project that some research firm did or something, that like to each country, they sent the same photo of a model, and they said, you know, alter this photo to be your country's standard of like what's beautiful.
Oh, I've seen that, yeah.
And like, yeah. So like, I think it was China that sent back this like hideously shrunken person.
The alien.
Yes, they were so thinned out. Like, their legs were sticks. And, like, it was just like, really? This is your standard? Like, to have 0 fat on your body?
Yeah, China's standard is the alien look, where you're like, your chin is super pointy.
Triangle
like,
face. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and your eyes are super big. It's terrifying to look at, and you're super tall. You have really long legs.
Yeah, I see. I have this, I have an app, made to. It's a Chinese, like, camera with, with touching up photos and stuff. And, like, there's always, example photos when I open the app that are like, this is you before the app, and this is you after. And it, like, shows people's legs being slimmed down to where it's, like, there's no calf. Like, their leg is just straight. It's like, it's sexy to not have muscle? Like, I don't get it.
I don't understand the standard either. I'm not Chinese enough to know. I don't get subjected to that standard, like, at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's rare that you'll see any type of manga or like shoujo manga or anime where the female lead is a little on the, like, chubbier side without it being a big deal.
Right, that's the whole point of the manga, if you have one. Like,
Yeah.
2 I can think of is Pochamami, where the main girl is... I mean, I like that manga because it addresses how it feels to be an overweight person, and, like, how other people treat you, and especially how males treat you.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another one I read called, like, Bouquet for an Ugly Girl, where it's just like, I don't know. We could talk more about that later, but
I mean,
right.
I like those mangas, but again, like, I don't like that the whole point of the manga is like, oh, she's, like, not the average stick,
Yeah, like, she can't just exist and it's not commented on. Like, it's just normal that a non-skinny person exists.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, I don't mind those because I do think that they touch on, they touch on really good themes. But yeah, I feel like if there could be one where the main character wasn't traditionally beautiful, but people weren't always like, wow, you're ugly, or like it wasn't the whole main point of it,
Mm-hmm.
then it would be a lot more. I think it could be powerful and impactful in its own way.
I agree.
On the complete other side of the spectrum, there are those series where the main character, female lead, is ugly only because she wears glasses. And as soon as she takes them off, she's suddenly the most beautiful person in the world.
She gets a haircut, like, she trims her bangs a little, and then contacts, and bam. And there's so many of those.
Right? Or, like, she just puts on makeup and then suddenly, like, is unrecognizable.
Yes, True Beauty. True Beauty is exactly that plotline, which don't know if anyone's reading it. I skimmed it. Started with a good message, but kind of lost its path halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
That reminded me, I read a manga, I'm currently reading a manga where there was a few pages dedicated to someone seeing this girl and being like, oh wow, you look sick today. And she's like, yeah, I forgot to put on my lipstick.
Oh, God.
What?
It's just lipstick.
Your lipstick?
Like, multiple pages devoted to that.
Yeah, because she was like, oh, I need to
I guess
go get it or something.
I look sick every day.
So, like, there's that trope, though, where when the female lead, like, decides for some reason to put on makeup, and then she's like, oh, I'll impress the guy, I'll impress the male lead, and then he sees her and he's like he doesn't react how she thought he would, and he's like, even like rejects it. He's just like, stop, it's not you. Or like one, I think, was it Aoharu Ride, I think, where Ko like smears the lipstick off.
I think so.
I think it's Aoharu Ride, where he's like, stop, don't wear that. And I guess you could pass it off as kind of like him being possessive, like, I don't want other guys to see how beautiful you are. But I think it's also nice when they're like, stop, it's not you. Like, I prefer just regular you.
Okay, personally, I don't like that because no. Okay, I get what they're trying to do.
I don't like it either.
I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to be like, oh, you don't need to wear makeup or whatever. But it's like, what if I want to? Like,
Well, yeah. I
like,
mean, I
that's
think
my
if you
point
want
too.
to wear
I'm
makeup,
like,
you should. But like,
Yeah,
I also
just-
see what it's trying to say. Like, you don't have to be noticed.
like, yeah, I understand its point, but I feel like it's still not. It rubs me the wrong way because it's like,
It's still a girl making a decision based off of what the guy says.
yeah, but it's still her decision to make. Like,
No, I'm agreeing
I
with
just don't
you.
like-
It's like if she puts on makeup and then he's like, no, you don't need that. And she's like, oh yeah, I'm fine without it. Then it's still her choosing something based off of him. It's not her just thinking for herself and being like, well, I still want to wear it, so I'm going to wear it. So I see your, I see your point.
yeah.
yeah, it's still kind of like, ooh, I don't know, man.
But it also,
Oh.
I'd say it also pushes this idea of like, oh, natural girls are always better, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like this idea.
You know what? That's actually true. A lot of shoujo do have like that same similar scene where like the guy's like, "Oh, you don't need to wear makeup. You look the same or whatever."
I think that's part of the beauty standard too, is to look like you're not wearing makeup even though you are.
True.
Like to look like you just naturally have big eyes and flawless skin and like pink
Eyeliner
lips.
and eyeshadow.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All natural.
To try and like give the impression to or fool people into thinking that you're not wearing makeup when or not a lot when you actually are wearing like a crap ton of makeup.
Yeah, it just reminds me of those guys that are like, you know, the ones that are like, oh, you should always take a girl swimming on her first date or something like that, where it's like, oh, whatever a girl like, oh, guys are just being tricked all the time because girls, when they take off their makeup, you know, they look completely different, and they're like, wow. If you know what I mean. You know what?
Yeah.
You know what guys I'm talking
Yeah,
about, right?
I know.
Yeah.
The ones that
Yeah,
are like,
I know what you're talking. I remember seeing those like when I was younger.
yeah, so those type of, so then whenever I hear stuff like, oh, you don't need to wear makeup, or like I think I used to, I get that the intention is generally kind of more encouraging, more positive, you know, but I feel like it's also enforcing something else where it's like girls are always better natural, or like you have to be naturally beautiful, or like girls who do wear makeup are like insecure or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, kind of like it also pushes. There's a little bit of undertones where it will push that idea, not only onto girls but like guys too, that feel like girls who wear makeup aren't pretty in a sense
Mm-hmm.
because they're not,
Yeah, like
because they're not naturally like that.
Right, like they get called a gyaru or even a ganguro if they wear makeup or if they are perceived to wear too much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's also that like, oh, I'm not like other girls, that type of, you know, not like other girls, that trope too.
Yeah, you'll notice the bully girl in shoujo is always like wearing excessive amounts of makeup and has like overly styled hair. And that's supposed to make her like, I think that's supposed to make her repulsive to the reader. Is she's like, she's overdone her makeup and she's way overstyled her hair. Like she's doing way too much. And that's supposed to make, like, have a negative connotation.
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole trope where the guy says that the FL doesn't need to wear makeup also makes me think of I don't know, it just kind of makes me think of the trope where the guy is always like above the female lead, like in terms of beauty, and everyone says, "Oh, you two don't match, so you shouldn't be together." Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That trope. It's just, which is so
or like she has to like better herself in order to be worthy of him.
yeah, and the guy is always like, "No, you don't," but everyone else says, "Yes, you do." And it's just the most frustrating trope to me because who do these outside people? First of all, they're all so judgmental, and who are they to comment on a relationship that they know nothing about?
Yeah, and the female lead always listens to them. Like she never just says like, "F you," like I'm gonna do what I want. Like
Yeah.
she always like takes what they say to heart.
Again, it brings into like the whole like, I don't know, it's not beauty standard, but like the whole submissive character. Like a girl should be submissive and obedient,
It all
basically.
comes back to male
Yeah.
dominance.
We're back again.
Like, first of all, there's not that many couples in real life, I feel like, where the guy is, like, tons better looking than the girl or whatever.
Yeah, if you look at the like American stereotype in sitcoms, it's the opposite. It's like the woman is way too hot for the man.
Yeah.
Like The Simpsons, you know, Homer's like fat and balding, and Marge was supposed to be like a real babe that everybody wanted, but she wound up choosing him for some reason. Like, it's interesting how the stereotype is flipped.
It's very specific to, like, shoujo or, like, young teen. Yeah, like, it happens in, like, you know, those teen movies. Yeah, like young teen movies and shoujo, things that are targeted towards younger girls. But then I feel like once you like grow up from that, it's like not actually. That's like not a common trope.
It's kind of tiresome.
Yeah.
I think it's just like the fantasy of having like a really hot guy date like you or like the female lead.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that fantasy.
Yeah.
And then once you grow up, you're like, that ain't happening.
Exactly. I think that the goal of it is to. So I think the idea of it is supposed to be like the reader is supposed to relate to the female lead by the female lead being average, and that the hot guy is like out of reach or unattainable, but she winds up with him, and it's supposed to like make the reader think, like, oh, it's possible for me too, even though I'm not as beautiful as him. Like, I could have that too, because this story is telling me that I can. But it really just kind of, to me, it reads as like, because the female lead is always like, she always has to be, even if she's average, like she has to be a really good and pure person. Like, just more than anyone around her. Like, she's just so kind and selfless and like bends over backwards to like be friends with everyone. And then it's like the hot male lead is like her reward for being a good person.
Yeah, I was like at a point where all the shoujo, I think this is why I really enjoy like the otome isekai, is because like all the female leads in shoujo nowadays, they tend to be like, I'm super kind-hearted, my only bad trait is I'm too nice, and I'm like super passive. It's like a lot of shoujos just have that same trope of a wholesome, pure girl, which I'm like, why? I can't relate, and I also find it really boring to read after a while.
Yeah, it feels like it's telling the reader, the impressionable, you know, young readers, if you just are a really great person, your dream guy will come to you because you're so kind and selfless and submissive.
Male dominance again. Let's go.
We're back.
We're always back.
I really hate that, like, not like other girls trope, where it's like, oh, I don't get along with them because I'm not interested in love, or I don't get along with them because I don't wear makeup, or I don't get along with them because I'm not into fashion.
I'm not a bitch.
Yeah, because literally all girls except for one in the school are upset. Like, every single girl is obsessed with fashion and magazines, and
even then though,
and sleeps around.
Yeah, even then though, it's like, it's not like just because you don't have the same interest doesn't mean you can't be friends. Like, what? Like, I could be into fashion and my friend could not, and we can still be good friends. Does that not seem... That seems like a very plausible scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently it's mutually exclusive.
Yeah, apparently...
like, you can only like one thing.
Yeah, apparently they're mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, I grew up liking manga and being kind of nerdy, and some of my friends were really fashionable, and I was still friends with them.
I mean, I'm the only one that's into manga, and all my friends... I'm still friends with all of them.
Right.
I'm into like really nerdy stuff, and none of them are, but we're still friends. We still find like a common ground somewhere.
I think that's like why, as I've gotten older, I've definitely been reading more and more josei instead of shoujo.
Yeah.
Because one, I've been getting older and it's harder to relate to someone in high school. But also just because it's just, I'm so tired of having that female lead that just won't stand up for herself. And you see it more in josei, and I don't know, it's just so nice to see someone stand up for themselves. And it's really refreshing when a shoujo does that too. I think it's getting more common.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think the tropes are evolving.
they are most definitely evolving.
Well, especially with like the boom of otome isekai, where the female is all about standing up for herself.
Yeah,
I think
where she's like, I'm really what is it called? That one where the female lead is always making weird faces, like hyper realistically drawn ugly faces.
Oh, beware of the villain.
Yeah, beware of the villainess. Like, she's not interested in any of them, despite how handsome and attractive they are. Like,
Yeah.
she doesn't care. And I think, actually, with Miss Not So Sidekick, I am of two minds with that one, because it's the same thing. Like, she appreciates the beauty of the male leads, but she doesn't fall in love with them just because they're beautiful. But at the same time, like, it's really obnoxious how she'll go on these monologues about how beautiful someone is. It's like, okay, stop. No one is that beautiful.
I feel like that's kind of like not exactly relatable because I don't go into monologues, but it's like more relatable for teens nowadays, especially with like K-pop idols. It's like very similar to like that type of fangirling, which I think is a lot better than like just you fall in love with him just because he's hot, and not just like
she's able
say
to
that he's
like
hot.
separate appreciation for somebody's physical appearance from love just because they're attractive. Like, she's able to make that separation, which is healthy, and I think a lot of people need that. But
I think a lot of people do that. I think
It's
it's
an upgrade.
played up
Yeah.
in shoujo most of the time.
Yeah, don't you guys okay, have you guys noticed that there's a lot of those confession scenes and then they get confessed to by a guy they don't even know? Or like a
Yeah.
girl they don't even know, and I'm like,
yeah, we talked about that in the tropes one, where like you get confessed to by somebody just because they like ride the same train as you and to school in the morning, but you don't even know their name. Like,
yeah, isn't that weird?
what can you possibly like about them besides their appearance?
Okay, but
It's love at first sight.
and the weirdest thing is that like they expect you to go out with them. Like the female lead or male leader would be like, "Oh, I turned them down," and then their friends would be like, "Why? Why'd you turn them down?" And then they're like,
They're like,
I don't know them. And they're like, "Oh,
I know, they're like, you
Why
should
not?
just date them
Yeah.
to see what happens.
they're like just
This
date
whole
them."
like trope of like date somebody and fall in love after you start dating. Like,
no, it
it
happened in
usually
Horimiya,
happens
too.
that way. Huh?
And this is like kind of, I think by the time this comes out, Horimiya is over. But in Horimiya, like, is her name Yuki?
Yeah.
The like, Yuki, like, she gets confessed to by that Yu-Gi-Oh lookalike guy.
I need to see this character.
Yeah, Nagi.
He has like a Yu-Gi-Oh looking hair.
I guess if you mention it that way, I guess it kind of does.
Yeah, he has like a Yu-Gi-Oh haircut, and then everyone's like, "How come you're not dating him? He's so much hotter. I mean, he's so hot." It's like the same thing. I'm like, why? She doesn't even know him.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Okay, I'm not seeing the Yu-Gi-Oh haircut, but fair enough.
He has like a super messy, like, what is going on with his hair?
No, Yu-Gi-Oh hair is not messy. It's like rigid and sharp, and it will put your eye out if you get too close to it.
Yeah, but it has like the same like, what is going on hair, you know?
I don't mind it. I think it's cute.
I don't know what's going on with his hair.
Anyway.
So do you guys, we talked all about what shoujo portrays as the standard of beauty and like how it's not like super great, or the ideas they perpetuate aren't realistic or even attainable in most cases. Do you have any recommendations for series that break the tropes or break the standard of beauty, or use it in a different way?
I think a big one that comes to mind is Kiss Him Not Me, because that one's pretty mocking of beauty standards. Like, the main girl is overweight and generally, not thought of as attractive, and like gets sick, I think, or she gets upset over something and like doesn't eat for a week or I don't know, something like that, and then comes out of her room like perfectly in shape and beautiful, and then is suddenly pursued by a bunch of guys but she doesn't care about that at all because she's a fujoshi and all she wants is to see two men together. So I like that one for mocking the whole trope of, a woman transforming by taking off her glasses or losing weight.
Kiss him, not me, is that what it's called? Is there's some yikes moment. I'm not going to deny it, but I think Endgame, I don't know, spoiler, but Endgame is a good choice. It's a very good choice for this manga, especially. It just gives the message. It doesn't really matter how much you weigh or how you look.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys... It's a manhwa. Oh, see, I didn't mention the title yet, so I don't know here. It's a manhwa, and it got adapted to a K-drama. But my ID is Gangnam Beauty. And I read that one, and it's very interesting because it kind of plays around with it. Like, so basically, the female lead, she was seen as ugly, like incredibly ugly. They don't really. I think one thing that the drama does, I don't remember if they did it with the manhwa as well, but it stuck out to me that they did it with the drama, is that they never showed how her face looked like when she was considered ugly, because they didn't want to push like this is what ugly is, So because then someone, like, what if someone looks like that and then they see this drama and the female lead's getting constantly called ugly? And so then, they feel shitty about themselves. So I really like the way they did that, first of all. But basically, she's been called ugly all her life. She goes through a huge transformation through plastic surgery. Like, basically everything's changed. Then all of a sudden she's beautiful. And then she struggles a lot because she still views herself as really ugly, but obviously people think she's beautiful now.
Mm-hmm.
But then she'll, it's like those situations where people are like, they're nice to her because she's beautiful, but the second she like doesn't reciprocate, or like maybe if she doesn't like a guy back, they're like going back to like, oh, but you're just all plastic anyway. And then there's another female character who is considered beautiful, but she's completely natural. And she hates the girl for getting plastic surgery done. Because she's saying, like, oh, nowadays everyone gets plastic surgery to become beautiful. People who are naturally beautiful don't get considered beautiful anymore. Or aren't appreciated as much anymore. And it just kind of plays around this whole idea of, like, plastic surgery, beauty standards. Like, she, like, the main female character is succumbing to people's beauty standards through plastic surgery, but she doesn't, it's like she can't win.
Mm-hmm.
Because
it sounds like it delves into a lot of these issues
mm-hmm.
without telling you what to think.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of presents these situations to you and, like, lets you make your own conclusions.
Yeah.
Or think about it yourself.
So I think it was really well done in that sense, where it plays on it without being super explicit, I guess. In a sense, it's most definitely it's set mostly in college, so it's a little older, I didn't finish watching the K-drama because K-drama adaptations tend to stray from the original source material, like, greatly. It's usually never the same. But the original manhwa, when I read it, I think it most definitely hits different points really well.
I'll have to check that one out.
That sounds like a very interesting, like, concept to see, like, plastic surgery and, like, quote unquote, like, natural,
Mm-hmm.
and, like, how that could be different, and, like, yeah, basically you can't win.
It sounds like,
case.
yeah, it sounds like the kind of the same thing as, like, money can't buy you happiness, like, beauty can't buy you happiness.
I think that's generally the ongoing debate that people have, because plastic surgery in real life is becoming more common, and then you have the people that are like, no, you shouldn't change, you should accept yourself for who you are, and the other people are like, who cares? If you want to change yourself, then go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think you're right. The emerging mindset is, like, generally right now, just don't tell me what to do. It's my life. It's my body. I will get plastic surgery if I want. Like, I don't need to adhere to your morals or your idea of what's right or wrong.
Yeah, and then the reason that she got it is because she was just being treated so horribly
Yeah.
because of her looks.
But that didn't change after she got the plastic surgery, right?
It changed, but it changed in that she would be treated better in a sense, but also there are, all those underlying kind of like those snide comments too that would happen. I would say like it changed in a different way.
It's a different
Like,
flavor.
maybe she was being treated better. Yeah, it's a different flavor. It's kind of hard to explain.
I think I can kind of understand like the struggles of like it sounds so bad struggles of being like pretty as well, and then having like snide remarks because like again if someone confesses to you and you're like no, they're gonna be like oh what a bitch and like all the snide remarks that happen.
Well, her situation specifically is because she got plastic surgery. Like pretty privilege exists. Like pretty privilege is a thing. So obviously she did get having that transformation, she would have a little more pretty privilege, right? But that's not to say that like pretty people or beautiful people, even if they're natural or through plastic surgery, don't go through like a lot of other struggles too.
Yeah, I think that's an especially interesting take, especially if it's like in Korea, where plastic surgery is quite a prevalent thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of interesting that like a popular media like K-drama would like talk about this. I think that's really important, especially for people who have gotten plastic surgery and are going through these things. It's like nice to see like your struggles being reflected into like a media.
Mm-hmm. And it just plays on that idea of like these unrealistic standards, right? And then so when you go through these standards are so unrealistic that when you go through these procedures, because it's not natural sometimes, you go through those procedures and just to meet that standard, and you're still now people are still mean to you and criticizing you for other reasons.
There's no winning.
Exactly. There's no winning.
Goes back to male dominance. So standard's still fair.
One that I want to mention is Lovely Complex. I know that's a real popular one. Probably a lot of people have already read it, but I think it's nice because it's not a hot male lead. Like both the female lead and the male lead have their own like insecurities.
Complex.
Yeah, they have their height insecurities, but like it's just unusual because the male lead is not like hot and he's not superior to the female lead, or like kind of imposing his ideas on her and how she should be. Granted, it's been a while since I've read it, so I might be missing something, but I like that one for not giving us the stereotypical hot lead that seems to be essentially flawless.
Mm-hmm. I like that too.
I haven't read it in a while, but I think it was nice of them to talk about like the complexes they have, like the issues they have and the struggles.
Yeah,
It's
actually pretty rare. I would say it's actually pretty rare that the male lead isn't traditionally viewed as like good looking, unless it's a shonen.
Yeah. I think it's always kind of ambiguous in shonen a lot of the time, whether he's like viewed as attractive or not.
I think he's always viewed as like average.
Yeah, he's like the average Joe.
He's a very average Joe.
And even if they say he isn't attractive, he's usually like not actually that unattractive.
It's always hard to tell with anime because unless you like draw somebody really horribly, then you're like, I don't know, in this world, is this person considered average or are they attractive? Like, I don't know.
I have no idea.
Or they're just like seen as gloomy.
That's my least favorite thing. Stupid gloomy trope.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
I'm trying to think of a series. I binge read earlier today, actually. The Full-Time Wife Escapist. It's josei, not shoujo. But just I realized because I knew we were going to record this, so it was in the back of my mind, but I realized the whole time I was reading it, there's very little focus on a like physical appearance in the entire thing. there's just one point, one character she's in her 50s, so she's always worried about looking old or getting old. That's her thing. And there's one time when a side character comes up and basically gets on her. She's like, you're old, so you should stay out of this guy's business. He's younger than you. Stop going for him. And she's like, first of all, I'm not going for him, like you say. And second of all, stop hating on me for being old, because you're going to be old one day too.
Mm-hmm.
And just, I don't know, that whole exchange was just so, again, it's josei, so it is a different audience, but it was just a refreshing take compared to what we see so much in shoujo, which is just everyone looking great all the time. Even when even when the female lead is ugly, she still looks so good all the time.
All the time.
And it's always, no matter what you read, someone always is like, oh, look at that hot guy over there. I guess, well, I said that. There is a male character who is constantly called hot, but personality is, it's addressed well, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Don't need a personality if you're hot in manga.
Right? Or something else I wanted to talk about is being hot excuses you from having a shitty personality.
Ooh.
That's something I'm kind of sick of.
You, wolf girl, black princess, wolf girl, looking at you.
I think we hate on that particular manga in every episode.
So bad.
Everything just
though.
relates
That one's,
back to
It
it.
is. Why?
It's such a good example of everything bad.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's
pretty
still so
bad.
popular.
Have you guys read? Okay, I personally haven't read it, but Ore Monogatari.
Yeah. I watched the anime. I didn't read it.
I've
same
not
thing.
watched it. I've seen it.
I've heard about it a lot. I don't think I've ever actually personally read it or watched it. But I think that could be, I'm assuming that the premise of it, from what I've heard, could be something interesting too, because, the male lead's not traditionally
Yeah.
seen as
Attractive.
yeah.
I think that one is very unique in that the male lead isn't attractive while the female lead is. But it kind of is just a reverse of what we've been complaining about, that because he's such a great person, an exceptionally good person, other than his appearance, he's flawless. He works really, really hard. He never looks down on anybody or talks bad about anybody. He helps everyone around him. And it's only because of that does he become a worthy person, because he's exceptionally good and kind. So that makes up for his unattractive appearance. So
Yeah, I haven't watched
yeah,
it.
I
so
feel
don't know.
it's, I can't say for sure it's good or it's bad, but it's really funny and it's definitely fun to watch, but I don't know if it's necessarily breaking any stereotypes. Well, it's breaking a stereotype, but it's not teaching us.
I feel like we need a female lead that's imperfect more so than the male lead, because a lot of the harem, guy oriented harems already have an average Joe be the protagonist, and there's already a lot of guys who are just not as attractive be a male lead and still get a harem somehow.
I think that does exist. Harumatsu Bokura is kind of like that. The female lead is just kind of an ordinary person, and she gets kind of a male harem. That exists.
Isn't Kiss Him Not Me kind of like that too? Except, well, I guess it fluctuates, but it's almost like that.
Almost, but she's still
She's still really pretty when she loses weight.
She's really pretty, and her quote unquote ugly part is when she's gains a few pounds, which isn't even that bad. Does anyone else have any recommendations?
God, it's so hard to find something.
Because I have not really been reading shoujo recently.
I think
so I don't really
Ultimate
have anything.
Isekai is where it's at. Like, they're really pushing the boundaries and, like, getting out of these trope stereotypes. Like, we already mentioned Beware of the Villainess. Like, she's not aiming for any guy. She's just doing what she wants to do. She doesn't really care about the actions of the male characters. Like, she does get kind of vengeful. Like, I need to show them what's what. Because they're just acting so ridiculous and so immature that I need to teach them a lesson. But, you know, at least she's not like an exceedingly beautiful woman. And the attractive men aren't controlling her actions at all. Like, she's not making any decisions based off of them. She's just doing what she wants to do.
I would say, like, any otome isekai would be really good to break beauty standards.
I think that's...
Or most of them, not all. Some are still,
I think that's because otome isekai just breaks, like, shoujo standards in general.
A lot of them are trying to be self-aware, in a sense, where they're like, yeah, we know this is a trope. Fuck that.
I think originally, Ultimate Isekai, I say originally like it's some really old genre, but it was the answer to, like, shonen and male harem anime. It was like, you guys get all these harems, well, we're gonna get a bunch of reverse harems for us to read. I think that's kind of how it started.
Yeah.
But now it's, like, really branching out.
Yeah, because the original one was, like, what's it called? Villainous something flag. I don't remember. The one
that they actually made into an anime, yeah.
Yeah, that one. That one's, like, I guess that was, like, one of the original ones.
Mm-hmm.
It was very, like, yeah, it's the answer harem. But nowadays, it's not really harem. It's just revenge.
Yeah. They're not always harem. Some of them are. Some of them aren't.
I think a lot of them are,
It's
like,
not as harem
the
heavy.
female lead is unaware of her appeal, and she's very, like, I want to say down to earth, and, like, I don't know if, like, sometimes they have bad self-esteem and sometimes they just have, like, average self-esteem. There's no way this hot guy would ever be into me. Oh, that one that we were talking about is called Ultima Game no Hametsu Flag. Shikanai akuyaku reijou ni tensei shite shimatta. That's really long.
I definitely got all of that.
They're all very long.
Destruction Flag Ultimate. Let's call it that.
And the one Bakarina. That's all I remember.
Honestly, that one kind of irritated me. The female lead is so stupid. She's like Michael from The Office level stupid. Like, oblivious, too.
Yeah, she's an airhead. But then I appreciate, like, the change in the shoujo pace, I guess. Like,
Really? I feel like it's still just, like, people fall in love with her because she's so good and pure and perfect, and even though she's really, like, her one flaw is being oblivious, but, like, people are attracted to her because of her super stellar, flawless personality. Like, she's just so good and kind and selfless.
I think she just, like, I think it's funny that she just sets off all the, like, the target, like, flags for, like, the romance routes by accident in, like, every single, like, character. And she just doesn't even realize it.
I think, when it started, but now I'm kind of tired of that trope where the female lead is just kind of OP.
Yeah. I mean, okay, it was good when I first started because it was one of my first Otome isekai, but, like, rereading it, I wouldn't do that again.
Agreed.
But it set off a good, like, explosion of Otome isekai, I would say.
I know we're saying
Something.
I know we're saying a lot of, like, oh, they're not, or, like, in the instances where they're not pretty, they win them over by their stellar personality, you know? But also just kind of like, well, if they don't win them over with their, or, like, what do we want them to win them over with if it's not with their looks?
Well,
if it's not with...
I think it's just, like, I'm tired of this Ethel having only, like, one flaw. Like, typically, if she's beautiful, then she's got a bad personality. Or if she's average or not beautiful, then she's got an excellent A++ personality. And, like, can't you just have, like, a C+ looks and C+ personality? I guess no one wants to read about
I
that.
basically just want an average. I guess I just want the average Joe to be the protagonist for once. A female average Joe. Like, I'm just tired of like the perfect
That's
girl.
true.
Because
The girl
like,
who...
if anyone read Dr. Elise,
Yes. Oh my god, she's so OP.
She's too much. She's too much.
She annoys me.
No,
oh
I
my
get
god.
that one.
She's like the pure like Mary Jane, like she's one-dimensional. She's so perfect, pure. Her one flaw is that she's too perfect.
Yeah, or like the manga or anime where the shoujo where the female lead maybe isn't perfect. There's just so much drama. I can't handle it. It's like way too much drama or misunderstandings.
Yeah, I just want the average person. Just like how there's a lot of average male protagonists in like shonen animes.
Mm-hmm.
I just want the same thing for us. Just like a few. I don't need like as much as like what shonen has, but or not shonen, but like harem anime does. Yeah, little spice here and there is okay
more
too.
complex characters.
Yeah,
Bottom
that's what it
line.
comes down to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Three-dimensional characters.
What I really hate though is when they have a seemingly average female character, or like someone who's like not considered like crazy attractive in terms of looks or something, or personality or whatever, but she'll always get compared to like another girl, like an ex-girlfriend, or like even like a teacher, childhood love interest. All like,
oh, I hate those.
you know what I mean, right? Or like some other like popular girl, like she'll always get compared to her, and it'll always and she'll always be like viewed inferior in a very traditional sense.
Yeah, I don't get why female characters always have to. They can't exist in the same space. They have to always be rivals and pitted against each other. Like they can't be friends. Apparently,
yeah, I hate that too. So it's just like, I mean, have a normal character, but like, why does she have to always get compared to some other female character that's supposedly viewed as like better looking or more talented or smarter or whatever?
Females should just be able to exist with each other without anything like pitting them against each other.
Yeah, and it's also like
very, very
one character has nothing and the other character has everything. Like that's not very realistic either.
Yeah, that's why I really like shoujo that has like female friendship, and it's like an important part of the manga. Like I really appreciate those ones, and I try my best to find those ones nowadays. Like that's like my standard now.
We love female friendships.
We love it. We love when females uplift each other instead of fighting each other.
Yeah.
Can we think of any last ones you want to plug for having either breaking the mold of the standards or falling into that mold and you don't recommend them?
It's very basic, and there's a Jose, the lady and her butler. I think I mentioned it multiple times already. But the male lead is just darker skinned, and they don't really care. Like, it's not really a big deal. And I think that was just kind of nice and refreshing. Like, I don't think it's making a huge commentary or anything, but I would just like to drop that in there too. And it's based in Korea, so.
I mean, if like this isn't like beauty standard, but for female friendship ones, since we mentioned it, I would say Inso's Law has like, it's a Korean manhwa. It has like a really strong female friendship, and like everyone's kind of friends before the romance even begins, and there's not really that much drama. It's a nice read, refreshing read.
Your Throne is very I think Your Throne is is very empowering for a female audience. Because there's like, if the existence of Psyche, if Psyche didn't exist in Your Throne, then it would be very like, OP female lead, has no flaws, slightly evil, but really like she's like super good at everything. But because Psyche exists, where she's the opposite, but she's also still viewed as a very strong female character, it kind of balances it out. So yeah, I think
Your Throne's a great example because Psyche, I don't know how to pronounce her name, is like the typical pure wholesome girl.
Yep.
And then you know, shit happens. And you see her, like, build up as a character and, like, become stronger throughout the story.
Basically, there's two female leads. They're kind of the opposite of each other, but they're both written in a way that they're both very strong and empowering towards one another, and they like bring out each other's strengths. So I think Your Throne is really great for
I
that.
got to check that one out.
And it's free on Webtoon.
I love Your Throne. It's so good.
Yeah. I'm not up to date, but I read parts of it.
I'll add that to my to-read list.
Yes, read it. I love it.
So it's really exciting.
I just wanted to add, I guess I'm just tired of like beauty kind of being the center of attention or being everything in manga. Like, it's just always such a big factor in decisions people make or who they pursue, who they fall in love with. Like, yeah, I'm just tired of it meaning so much.
It's a reflection. Yeah, but I feel like it's just like a reflection of like society as a whole, where like looks really matters,
Especially,
and et cetera, et cetera.
I would say, especially in Asian cultures like Japan and Korea, where we're getting a lot of these manhwas and mangas from. Looks are incredibly important there in the Asian cultures.
Yeah, like they just...
Yeah, it's a sad reflection, but
Yeah,
it's
like
true.
Like I said earlier, like it gives you an excuse to act like a jerk because you're attractive, or, you know, it means no one even pays attention to you if you're not.
Pretty privilege.
Love that. I hope there's gonna be like more mangas that have better messages coming, like sooner or later.
I think.
And it has been shifting.
Miss Not So Sidekick, even though I'm not like fully, like not everything about that webtoon is great. Like, what I like about it is that the female lead is considered like average looking, I think. But to make up for that, she's not like a super pure or innocent person. She's actually like her kind of like redeeming quality, I guess, is that she's really intelligent and she's thoughtful. Like, she is considerate, but I think her main like redeeming quality is that she's actually smart and she's wise. And I think and she's silly. And I think that's what appeals to the guy she eventually ends up with, which I won't spoil. But at least instead, as a replacement for being attractive, she doesn't have to be super like pure and innocent. She's just herself. And that's enough. Being herself is enough.
And she has, and she has like the typical teenage like fangirl, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not really, like, it reflects really well.
And I think it would be really nice if we could start to like appreciate these female characters who aren't traditionally beautiful without having to also like bring down people who are traditionally beautiful or who do care about their looks or things like that too.
Like, being really attractive makes you, I think we already talked about it, but makes you like unvirtuous. Like, if like in Ao Haru Ride, I think the female lead is considered really attractive, and for some reason people start circulating rumors that she's like start bullying her and treating her badly, like even though she didn't do anything other than just be attractive.
Yeah. Like, it's not a crime to be attractive either, you know?
But in summary, looks are not someone's most important trait, believe it or not.
Yeah, basically.
And manga should reflect that, and should definitely have less focus on people's looks.
Yeah, let's stop putting people, especially men, on pedestals for being attractive. Let's stop making decisions based off of how attractive people are. But also, let's leave people alone if they're attractive. Let's not hate them just for being attractive.
You can hate them if they have a bad personality.
Right.
Or if they do
don't
something
hate
to
them
you.
for being attractive.
Yeah. You can hate them if they are horribly written.
But you shouldn't forgive them just because they're attractive.
Right. And you shouldn't bully other people because they like an attractive person.
And you shouldn't bully someone because they're not traditionally attractive.
Or because they don't suit the person that they're dating.
I hope you liked our lesson in how to be a somewhat decent person.
In conclusion, Just don't judge people based on their beauty.
Mm-hmm.
Leave people alone.
And yeah, we will catch you next time. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Into the Shoujo-Verse. Check out our social media. We're on Twitter at the Shoujo-Verse, YouTube and Instagram at Shoujo-Verse, and TikTok at Into the Shoujo-Verse. Thank you so much.